Hey guys, so I am here again today with another College 101 video, and this video is one that was requested. I just slapped myself in the hand if you heard that. But anyways, this video is basically how to live with a stranger. In layman's terms, you got a roommate now and you don't know them. How the heck do I do this? My roommate situation was a little bit different last year because I knew my roommate before going in, but I did not know her super well. We were friends, but not like friends, you know what I mean? Her mom was one of my teachers in high school, and she introduced us when she found out we were both going to the same school, and we decided to room together. And for us, it worked so well. We're going to room again together next year, which means in August. My roommate and I are absolutely attached at the hip at school. We do a lot together and we go on adventures. Our other friends constantly make jokes that we need to have a reality show because we're a funny little duo, but these tips will encompass if your roommate situation works and if it doesn't. So without further ado, here are tips on how to live with a stranger. Okay, so these tips are in no particular order. It's just kind of the way that I wrote them down. But the first one is gather your expectations before going in and talk about them. If you guys need to determine who gets what side of the room, then do it. If you don't, then don't. You need to talk with your roommate. I know that you will know who your roommate is before move-in day, or hopefully, unless something tragic happens and you don't know until you move in. But when you find out who your roommate is, you need to start talking. You need to develop a trust with each other before you get there. And obviously, people can lie, people can make themselves seem one way when really they're another way, but you just have to trust and hope that the way that they're showing themselves to you when you meet each other is the way that generally it will be. That is not always the case. I will cover that later in the video, but you need to talk about the things. If you're a super neat freak, you need to make sure that they know that, because if they're not, you guys are gonna have to talk about that and figure that out. If you have to go to bed at 9 p.m. every day, your roommate needs to know about that. If you have to wake up before the sun, your roommate needs to know about that. It's not something that you should be freaking out in advance about, but when you guys start to talk, you guys need to recognize that you will be living together, and there is no room for hiding things about like little quirks in your personality and the way that you live. And there might be things that you don't even recognize that you do that eventually your roommate will discover, but what you know about yourself, you need to make sure that you're being open and talking to them about. The second tip is kind of similar than the first one, and I kind of mentioned it, and that is realize that people always look different on paper. You will get a little bit of information about your roommate, I think, when you are like assigned your roommate, and if not, then sorry, I didn't mean to lie. When you learn a little bit about your roommate, you need to recognize that those are the best intentions that you're reading, and best intentions, while good, are not always how reality works. So for instance, when my roommate and I were deciding if we were going to room together, I, being the organized list questionnaire lover that I am, sent home some questionnaires to her with her mom for her to fill out, and when she brought them back, they said, well, one of them was like, how messy are you on a scale of 1 to 10? And hers said that it was about a 5, and I think mine had been about a 5 too. So when we moved in together, one of the first things she told me was, so I'm a little bit messier than I made it seem. And it was funny, we laugh about it so much now. The things that you might be told are the best of intentions, but not always necessarily the truth. You might find out that your roommate doesn't think that they're dirty, but they really are. Or you might find out that your roommate doesn't think that they chew loudly, but it turns out that they do. Or you might think that you and your roommate agree on every political belief, and then you'll find out that you don't. Or it could be the complete opposite. On paper, you might be like, I'm gonna hate this person, and then you get in and start living together and realize, oh, I kinda like them. So the third tip is probably the most important in making a roommate situation work. Now, keep in mind that you can only control your actions, not your roommates. So if you're putting your best effort out, you will be doing your best to improve maybe a bad situation or even a good situation being made better. If you take time to intentionally serve your roommate as if they were like a, I don't want to say spouse because that sounds weird, but if you serve your roommate, for instance, if they have a couple dirty dishes, if you are going to wash your own, go take theirs too. Or if you notice that there's a mess on the carpet, maybe, even if you didn't make it, sometimes you should just vacuum it up yourself, or any other number of things that you can do to serve your roommate. If they're not feeling well and you bring them some soup, or if they've run out of a certain kind of food or a utensil and you're like, oh, you can use mine. That kind of relationship, when you are constantly trying to see what you can do to improve their day and their life, helps the bond, I guess, of a living situation grow so much. This is most likely the first time that you've ever lived with a stranger, I would hope. So this is a great chance for you to grow in many different ways, especially when it comes to learning to serve people, especially when you don't want to. It is so easy to be like, whatever, that's their side of the room, they can clean it themselves, or that's their laundry, they can do it themselves. But you might find that sometimes it makes you feel better and it brightens their day so much that it's worth taking an extra step. And I tried to do this as often as I could, and obviously sometimes I didn't, sometimes I failed at that, but I really feel that me intentionally trying to serve my roommate and make her life easier and better helped both of us out so much, and it just really grew our friendship, and now I can't imagine what college would be like without her. So the next step is for when it goes wrong. If you get into your freshman situation and you realize that it's not going to work, if you realize you guys don't get along, you're too different, there's so many different things that you're arguing about, or you just can't handle how messy they are, or how they talk loudly in the middle of the night, or how they sleep all hours of the day, whatever you think is wrong, whatever you can't handle, I have 2 tips for you. 1, try to do what I just said, and that is serve them. Try to understand their side, try to see from their perspective, and in that process, serve them through it, and you might find that things change. But if that isn't the case, then step 2 is try to switch your room, your roommate situation, whatever, however you word that, at Christmas break, at your winter break. I know a few people who did this last semester, and I don't know if it's easy to do at other schools, but try it if you can, see if it's possible. And if not, then in your next semester, just remember, it won't be like this for long. You're almost done already with your freshman year, and you can move in with somebody else. Just continue to serve them and recognize that you're going to grow as a person by serving somebody that you don't like. Okay, so the next one is to make friends that aren't your roommate. That one's pretty simple. If you are making friends with people who you don't live with, then you have other places to go and other people to see when maybe things are rough in your room, or maybe you just have had enough of your roommate for a while. And everybody needs more than one friend anyways. Like, it's super important to actually develop different friendships and different kinds of friendships. So I just really suggest doing that. That'll help you move outside of any roommate problems you might have, or even if things are great, friends are good. Friends are always good. And then the final tip that I have is to tackle stuff together, become a team. For my roommate and I, sometimes her parents would decide to come up for a day and say hi, or her grandparents. Sometimes my parents or family members did too. But in those situations, when we woke up and it was 11 a.m. and they were going to be here in 20 minutes, we were like, oh crap, our room is a mess. And we tackled it together, we cleaned together, and then in other situations, on our first day of classes, we talked about it together, we went to orientation together, and we just really developed this bond where if we were uncomfortable, we found each other and we worked through it together. This can develop some issues if you become so close with your roommate that then you can't break off and do things with other people. But for the most part, this is such a great and cool and interesting bond to be able to have, where you can go from essential stranger or complete stranger or even best friend to this new step of life where all of a sudden you are partners in everything and you try to tackle the difficult, new, scary stuff together. That is so exciting, and it's so much fun to be able to walk through that part of life with another person. So that is all that I have for you guys today. Those are my tips for living with a stranger or a roommate or whoever. I hope that this video was helpful to you. If it was, give it a thumbs up and please subscribe. I would love for you to do that if you're not already subscribed. But if you are, then cool. Hi, thanks for watching. And if you're not, then cool. Hi, thanks for watching. But I'm rambling. Goodness gracious, I have a bad issue of rambling. Anyways, that is all that I have for you guys today. But until the next time I see ya. Wow, my glasses are dirty. Oh, my best friend texted me. Whew, gotta fix that.